She goes with Tony, and I am so lonely. Oh, July to July, you are my honey. July to July, I'll give you my money. July to July, you are my baby. July to July, oh, we'll get married, maybe. I take a walk and she don't stop talking. Moon is a shining while my heart is a pining. She says, Donnie, don't try to tease me. Oh, no, no, Donnie, you cannot squeeze me. Oh, July to July, you are my honey. July to July, I'll give you my money. July to July, you are my baby. July to July, oh, we'll get married, maybe. She says, Donnie, if you've got some money, then you can be my sweet little honey. I'll drink plain soda, you drink your rock and rock. We'll be so happy, Donnie, you and I. Oh, July to July, you are my honey. July, July, I'll give you my money. July to July, you are my baby. July to July, we'll get married, maybe. Oh, July to July, you are my honey. July to July, I'll give you my money. July to July, you are my baby. July to July, we'll get married, maybe.
I'd like to be an astronaut and fly around the stars. I'd search for signs of life on Jupiter and Mars. But I'll never be an astronaut, and the reason it is clear. I can't be an astronaut, cause in space you can't drink beer. You can't drink beer in outer space. Can't get that bottle to your lips with a helmet on your face. You'd look as funny as can be drinking beer in zero gravity. Oh, you can't drink beer in outer space. Perhaps I'd be a surgeon, that would be pretty keen. I'd remove gallbladders and kidneys and some spleens. But alas, it is true, that is not a job for me. I'll never hold a scalpel, you can't drink beer in surgery. Oh, you can't drink beer in surgery. Don't want your doctor drinking before your appendectomy. I must choose a vocation that doesn't deal with operations. You can't drink beer in surgery. NASCAR driver, maybe I would be the best. All I'd have to do is drive real fast and then I would turn left. But I'd be fired in an instant and they wouldn't let me back. You can't be a NASCAR driver if you're serving around the track. You can't drink beer and drive NASCAR. 'cause you can't have a drunk driving a tank. If you want beer on the job, you can't be a fireman. If you want to drink at work, you should have joined a polka band. You can't drink beer in outer space. Can't get that bottle to your lips with a helmet on your face. You'd look as funny as can be drinking beer in zero gravity. Oh, you can't drink beer in outer space. You'd look as funny as can be drinking beer in zero gravity. Oh, you can't drink beer in outer space.
Hi everyone, this is Marianne Vogel and I'm from the Cleveland Kurentovanje 2021 Festival Planning Committee. I am talking to you from beautiful and cold Cleveland, Ohio. And the Planning Committee is getting ready to welcome you to Cleveland Kurentovanje 2021 to scare winter away. And what a year that we need to scare winter away, eh? So I wanted to just invite you to our festival this year. We have so many wonderful things planned for you this year. That's right, because of the pandemic, we're not able to meet in person, but our planning committee has worked unbelievably hard, and they were diligent in creating a wonderful virtual event. Every year, Kurentovanje just gets bigger and better. And that's no different this year. This year, Kurentovanje is a global event. We have friends from Canada, Japan, and Slovenia coming this year to be part of Cleveland Kurentovanje. Of course, we miss having you, and we cannot wait to see you next year in person again. But until then, you need to be part of this year's event. We actually are blessed to have a planning committee that is solely made up of volunteers. Without them, this event would not be possible. But there's something else that we need, and in this year of challenge, I do actually hate to ask, but it is necessary. We could really use your donations to help offset this year's costs to create this virtual event and to prepare for Kurentovanje 2022. There are a few ways that you can make a donation to us and to help support the organization. The first way you can help us is if you go to our Cleveland Kurentovanje website and hit the support link and make a donation. Please buy our merchandise. Wear Kurentovanje. That would be the best way to advertise what we're doing. And second of all, if you join us in our online events, you'll be able to get a text code where you can make a donation. And lastly, please share the events. Join us on Instagram, join us on Twitter, join us on Facebook, and please share away, because we've been growing Kurentovanje every year. And again, we can't be in person, but that doesn't mean this can't be the biggest and best Kurentovanje to date. And that's with your help. So friends, help us, join us, scare winter away. When you're at the virtual events, grab a glass of wine, grab a beer, join us for the concerts, and let's have so much fun with the Kurents, scaring winter 2021 away and bringing in springtime. Thank you so much for joining us in this week's event. Hvala lepa, na zdravje, and enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the 9th annual Cleveland Kurentovanje. It's hard to believe we're already on day 4. My name's Caitlin Peterson and I will be your host for tonight's session, and we're doing another cooking demo tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. So some of you likely participated in the event that we had on Sunday, our cooking demo. It was full of Slovenian sweets. We did a Maribor donuts or krofa, pohore omletas, and many of you, your favorite, the kremšnita. We had great feedback on all of those, so we're so happy that you all liked them. If you did miss it, don't worry, the video is available for replay on our YouTube channel, so head over there and subscribe so you never miss another video. All right, tonight we have another round of fabulous demonstrations for you. Starting off, we will be welcoming Michelle Pušič Ryall, founder of the Facebook group Slovenska Kuhinja. She's going to be joined by her mother, Teresia Pušič, and they will be preparing apple strudel for us. So take it away, ladies.
Dobrodošli, welcome. My name is Michelle Pušič Ryall, and I am the founder of the Slovenska Kuhinja Facebook group. I'm a first-generation Canadian-Slovenian, born and raised in Ontario, Canada. My mom is from the region of Prekmurje, and Ati is from Bela Krajina. I was raised in a home full of rich Slovenian traditions, and I am so proud to be able to spread the love and share them with all of you all around the world. Today I'm being joined by my beautiful mom, Teresia Pušič. Mama Teresia is going to be taking us on a journey in her Slovenska Kuhinja, and she's going to be teaching us how to make the most delicious Slovenian apple strudel. This means she's going to be sharing her secret ingredients, techniques like stretching the dough really thin, to layering and then rolling it up. She's even going to show us how to freeze it properly if you don't want to bake the strudel right away. And like all good things, we will require time and patience, but when you take your first bite, it will be all worth the effort. I am very excited. Are you ready? Let's get started. Before we begin our demonstration, my mom and I would just like to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for joining us today. And most importantly, I'd like to thank the Kurentovanje Committee for 2021 for inviting us out to be a part of this very special event. So we're going to begin by washing our apples. We are using Royal Gala and Granny Smith. Any baking apples will do, but what you're looking for in an apple is one that will offer a delicious balance of sweet and tart flavors. Some of my mom's other favorites are Matsu and Ida Red, and she always uses her Granny Smith. Quite frankly, I feel the more varieties you use, the richer the blend in flavor. Okay, so this next step, we are going to get our bread mixture ready. So we're going to need 1/3 cups of butter. And once the butter is melted, we're going to be adding in 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs. And then we're just going to keep mixing it until it's well combined, and then you get a really nice golden brown color. And then we're just going to set it aside. Okay, so now that the breadcrumbs are ready, we're going to get a small pot, and we're going to be adding in 1/3 cup of butter and 1/3 cup of oil. And once it's all melted down, we're going to set it aside. All right, now it's the fun part, making the dough. We are going to sift 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. We're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of table salt, 1 large egg, slightly beaten, and then we're going to add that to the bowl of flour as well. We're going to need 12 ounces of lukewarm water, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and then last we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of canola oil. And now we get ready to mix. This step is a bit of a process, and the mixing of the dough takes approximately 10 minutes. Alright, so we've been mixing the dough for about 2 minutes. We're going to stop and just scrape the sides off to get all the flour incorporated in with the dough. And then we continue mixing again. So the dough has been mixing for about 4 minutes now, and as you can see, it's still not quite ready. We're going to be adding some more flour to the dough, adding in 1 tablespoon of flour at a time. So each time you make the dough, it will be different, and there's a few variable factors that are involved here when it comes to temperature, the flour, and of course the egg that we're using, or the size of the egg. So it's important that when we're mixing the dough, we add it 1 tablespoon at a time so we get that perfect consistency for our apple strudel dough. Okay, so how is it looking, Mommy?
1 more tablespoon.
All right. So we're almost there. Mommy thinks it's a little too sticky, so we still got to add 1 more last tablespoon of flour. So that's 8 tablespoons in total this time around. Aha, so this is what the perfect dough is supposed to look like. Now to help remove it from the bowl, we're going to add a little bit of flour to our hands. Okay, so now for this final step, what we want to do is use the palm of our hands to work the dough. making sure that our hands are always slightly floured during this process so it's not sticking to our fingers and to our hands until we reach that perfect ball of dough. Okay, so now it's time to allow our dough to rest. We're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of canola oil to a bowl. We're going to roll our ball of dough in that oil, and then we're going to be covering it with a clear, stretchy plastic wrap, and we're going to allow it to rest for approximately 2 hours. Yes, so the dough is resting, but unfortunately, you will not be. We are going to zest 1 lemon. We also need juice from about half a lemon. And then we need a separate bowl where we're going to be adding 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. And we're going to combine these sugars together nicely and then set it aside. Now you may sit, relax, kick up your feet. Well, maybe not. And let's start peeling those apples. And then eventually we're going to grate them. You know what, Mommy? Let's pause for a second and spread some love. You guys at home, way to go. You're doing a great job.
Good job.
This grater that my mommy is using is a very special grater. It was given to her by her mom, my stepmama, and it came right from Prekmurje, Slovenia. And it is the only grater my mom ever uses while making her delicious apple strudel. So now we're going to split our dough ball into 2 equal parts, and we're going to use just the first dough ball for now, and then we're going to wrap up the second ball and set it aside. All right, we are almost ready to start stretching out that dough, but before we do, we need to get ready. So we're going to sprinkle our tablecloth with some flour, and we're also going to add a little bit of flour to that ball of dough that's been resting so nicely. And then we're going to take out that rolling pin and roll out the dough slightly. So the tablecloth that we're using is 66 by 52 inches in size. So our table is fairly large, just to give you an idea of how large our surface is that we're working on. So we have got our dough all prepped and ready to go. And now it's time to stretch it out. So by using our palms and our fingertips, we are gently going to stretch from the inside and pulling out. We are going to carefully continue through this process and keep stretching and pulling from underneath in the center of the dough until we reach a beautiful transparent dough that is covering the surface that we're working on. Okay, so our dough has been stretched out as much as possible, and now it's time to trim the edges. Now it's time to add some of that breadcrumb and butter mixture. We did heat it up again slightly just so it wasn't cold. So we've reheated the oil and butter mixture and we're sprinkling it onto the dough. So this next step is extremely important. We want to make sure that we squeeze out and strain any extra juice that is coming from the grated apples before we layer it onto the dough. Another very useful and delicious tip, although not very traditional Slovenian, is if you are going to be using apples that are juicier, like a Macintosh, you can add a little bit of graham crumb to the breadcrumb mixture, and that does give a very delicious flavor and soak up some of that juice. Now you will notice that on one of the longer sides of the stretched out dough, we left about 10 inches in length. And the reason why we did that was because that extra excess will be wrapped all the way around, and that's what gives you that delicious, crispy texture. And now it's time to add the white sugar and brown sugar mixture, as well as the lemon zest. So a couple of more ingredients before we start rolling. And now we're going to drizzle on some of that lemon juice, as well as a package of vanilla sugar and, of course, cinnamon. All right, I can almost taste it. So if you notice, Mommy has folded the one side, and she's going to do that all along the long edge. And then she's going to be using the tablecloth to help roll it. And we're going to be rolling it towards the side that we left 10 inches in length. Okay, so we're going to stop rolling it just before we hit the 10 inches of excess dough. And we're going to be sprinkling on the oil and butter mixture, as well as the breadcrumb and butter mixture. And now we're going to add on a little bit of the sugar mixture, as well as the lemon zest. We will not be adding the apples to this portion of it, because we want to make sure that while it's in the baking process, we're going to create that delicious outer crispy crust. Oh man, this is looking perfect. So now we're just going to roll it up and then prepare it for the oven. Okay, so now my mom is going to be using the baking pan that she's going to be baking the apple strudel in. And she's taken some flour and she's making the markings on the strudel so she knows exactly how long the strudel needs to be and where she needs to split it. She's also going to be placing some of the flour underneath because the next step is you're going to be pushing down in those exact spots that she marked with the flour.
Like that. And side is keep squeezing, okay? Keep squeezing. That, keep squeezing.
And then you keep squeezing until it finally separates.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that you pinch the ends well enough to make sure that they're sealed. That way they don't leak out in the baking process. Here's a quick tip on how to freeze your apple strudel. Okay, so now Mommy's going to show us how to prep the strudel and get it ready for storing in the freezer if you're not looking to bake your strudel all at once. This is a really great way to sort of prep everything beforehand, and it'll be ready for you when you want to bake it right out of the freezer. So we're going to start by sizing the cling wrap or plastic wrap and then placing our strudel right on top. Okay, so now by using a knife, we're going to be making some slits on the top of the strudel. All right, and now we're going to brush on some of the oil and butter mixture on all of the strudel.
And this is going to be ready when you want to put it in the oven.
Okay, so now that we have prepped all of those strudels that we are going to be freezing, we're going to wrap them up in the clear plastic wrap, and then we're going to place them onto a baking sheet, and we are going to freeze them overnight. In the morning, we will take them out and put them into plastic bags and put them back into the freezer, or if you have a vacuum sealer, you can vacuum seal them and they'll be ready for future use.
Ready for the freezer.
All right, enough talking. Let's get one in the oven. So now we're going to place the strudel onto a baking sheet that's been lined with parchment paper, and we're going to bake it in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. And if you're baking from frozen, it's going to be a 375-degree oven for 45 minutes, and then after the 45 minutes, you're going to lower the temperature to 350 degrees for another 15 minutes, and that's where you're going to get that delicious, crispy outer crust. Perfect.
Odlično, yummy.
Mommy, it's always a pleasure being in your kitchen. We always have so much fun.
Because we both like to eat.
Anyways, on that note, let's have a bite and see how we did.
It's good. The best.
Delicious. So thank you so much again. Enjoy the rest of your Kurentovanje. Na zdravje.
Dobar tek.
Adio.
Adio.
Welcome back, everyone. That was delicious. Thank you, Michelle and Mommy, for teaching us how to do apple strudel and for those great tips on how to freeze your apple strudel if you're not ready to make it all at once. I think those tips will come in handy around the holidays. If you are looking for more videos like this, be sure to follow or join the group for the Slovenska Kuhinja with Michelle as a founder, where she is constantly spreading the love through videos just like this and sharing lots of Slovenian recipes with everyone. Before we get into our next demonstration, I wanted to take the time to remind everyone that while you're watching, you can support Cleveland Kurentovanje by texting to give. You can text the word current cooks to 44321, and you'll be provided a link where you can give now, and all your donations help us offset the cost of putting on this virtual event this year. And just a reminder as well that anyone who donates a minimum of $10 or more will be entered into our drawing to win one of the Cook Eat Slovenia cookbooks from Spela, who we heard from earlier this week when she showed us how to make her kremšnita. Her cookbook is also available for purchase online. You can go to culinaryslovenia.com/cookbook for that. All right, now who's ready for some more cooking? If you were here with us on Sunday, you heard that this year Cleveland Kurentovanje has partnered with the Vocational College of Hospitality and Tourism in Maribor, the VSGT. It's a 2-year vocational college, and they teach their young chefs how to do all things hospitality, cooking, and wellness. So we will hear again from one of the young chefs today. And if you have any questions or want to learn more about VSGT, their website is vsgt.si. Now I'm going to kick it off to Chef Sebastian Plejocek, who's going to share with us how to prepare a roasted veal shank with roasted potatoes, and then show us how to do a zero waste version of that, which basically means how to use any leftovers you might have creatively and deliciously. So take it away, Sebastian. Thank you.
Hello everybody. Sebastian is preparing a very special dish which is very known in Maribor, and it's a veal shank. It's a roasted veal shank, which is quite a festive dish. And this dish was special for Archduke John, who lived at Meranovo. That's a special vineyard just under the Pohorje, and it's known for the very delicious white wine varieties like Sauvignon or Rhine Riesling. Now the Sebastian is seasoning the veal shank with some salt, some pepper, and some ground caraway, or as we say in Slovenia, kumina. It is important that the veal shank is dry. So before seasoning, dry it truly with kitchen towel. And now let's prepare the vegetables that are going to be roasted with the veal shank. So we have some onions. Just quarter it. You don't have to peel it. We have some garlic. Just cut it roughly and add to the baking tray. Roughly chop some red carrots. And now we have the celery. Cut it into the big cubes and add to the rest of the vegetables. Now pour some oil, some sunflower oil, on top of the vegetables and the veal shank. And of course some wine from Meranovo. We are using dry white wine, quite a lot of it. So around 200 to 300 milliliters. And some water, approximately the same amount as the wine. And now the veal shank is ready to be baked in the oven. It will need around 3 hours at 150 Celsius degrees. Now we are making roasted potatoes. which are usually served with this veal shank. First, we have to boil the potatoes. So boil them for around 40 minutes. You can add some salt into the water. As you can see, the potatoes are being boiled with the skin. And now, in the meantime, you can prepare the onions, which are quite important element in this dish. So first you have to skin the onions. Cut it in half. And now let's cut the onions. So if you are making a traditional roasted potatoes or praženi or restani krompir, as we say it in Maribor, the onions should be cut in thin slices. And you need quite a lot of the onions. You can also use mandolin to cut the onions in slices. So now we need a pan and some sunflower oil, or if you go traditional, the lard is going to be used in many homes in Slovenia to roast the onions for the roasted potatoes. But Sebastian is using sunflower oil. He's seasoning the onions with salt and starting to brown the onions. In the meantime, he's preparing the vegetables to go with the veal shank. He's using spring onions, he's cutting off the roots from the spring onions. He's cutting the onions in half and peeling off some layers, but not too much. Now he's halving the onions. You can also use leek in the same manner that this spring onions. He will use the green parts of the spring onions for decoration. And now let's finish the roasted potatoes. The potatoes are cooked, so they have to be skinned. The onions is getting a nice golden color. And for finish, we add some pork cracklings to fried onions to give the potatoes a nice flavor. The onions are now ready. We just have to cut our potatoes. This dish is marvelous for using old potatoes. I mean the potatoes that have been cooked a day or two ago. Now we cut the potatoes into thin slices. You can also use mandolin for do this. As you can see, it is nice that the veal shank is seasoned with wine also during the baking. Now we add the potatoes to onions and cracklings and combine it well. Roast it together for a couple of minutes. If you want, you can also add some chopped parsley or chive with it and season it with salt. When the veal shank is ready, let it rest for a couple of minutes. Use some vegetables for garnish. We're going also use some juice. From baking. And now we are going to prepare the onions. We're going to saute them on a little bit of sunflower oil. Season them with salt and pepper. And they are ready in a few minutes. Just let them get a little bit of color. And now we are ready to plate. Cut the meat off the bone. Your dog is going to be quite pleased with it. I mean with the bone. Use a warm plate. Serve roasted potatoes. They are smelling fantastic. Add some meat from the veal shank. Garnish with spring onions. Add some chopped spring onions. And for the finish, spoon some sauce on top of it. And voila! That's roasted veal shank from Nadvojvoda Janez. Pečena telečja krača s praženim krompirjem in mlada čebula. Dober tek! Hello everybody! We are making a zero waste sandwich. We are using the leftovers from the veal shank and the vegetables for the zero waste veal shank sandwich. Sebastian is using ciabatta or baguette, and for the filling he's thinly slicing the vegetables. So the celery, the carrots, and the onions. He's thinly slicing the leftover meat from the veal shank. He's spooning some sauce from the veal shank into the bread. And now filling the bread with the meat and with the vegetables. He's adding some chopped spring onions on top of the sandwich. And the sandwich is ready. It's on the sandwich with veal shank and roasted vegetables. Dober tek. Sandwich z ostanki pečene telečje krače, zelenjavo in mlado.
Wow, that looks fantastic. If you're like me, your mouth is probably watering and you're maybe wondering, all this food, how am I going to burn off any of these calories? Well, I have a challenge for you. We do have a 5K. It's our third annual Current Dash 5K this week, or sorry, this whole month we're doing it. So there's still time to register for that, and you can watch all of our cooking demos, prepare all the dishes, and then burn up those calories through our 5K. So I'd like to take this time just to thank all of our presenters today for sharing their fabulous recipes with us. If you did enjoy today's videos, come back Thursday. We're going to have even more. We're doing strudel and fried chicken from VSGT and strudel from one of the chefs from the Slovenska Kuhinja Facebook page. So be sure to check out Cleveland Kurentovanje's YouTube channel so you can subscribe and get all of the events there. Thank you to all of the sponsors and volunteers who are making Cleveland Kurentovanje possible this year. That's all for tonight, and I will see you guys back here Thursday, and enjoy the rest of the festival.